The Creator created people and He spread them out across the face of the land. And then He decided that each group of people should have a language. So He filled a big bag full of languages and He set out on a journey to hand them out. And He began back east. Everything begins back east. And with each group of people He reached in and He gave them a language. And as He traveled, He passed the languages out, and then He got to the other side of the land, out by Puget Sound area. And He looked, and His bag had a whole lot of languages left. So rather than just hand them all out to small groups of people, He went up on a high spot, and He shook that bag, and all the languages tumbled out. And that's why there are so many languages spoken up there in that Puget Sound area even today. Well, the Creator went on about His business, and the people began to go about theirs, and that's when the people realized that there was a problem. The Creator, He's kind of short, and He had created the sky so it was a little bit too low, and people, when they would walk, they'd bump their heads up against the sky. What was even more frustrating is sometimes at night, when it was time for the children to come back to eat, they were up on top of the sky playing, and they couldn't be found. So the people got together and they said, we've got to do something. Some of the men went to see the Creator. And they said to the Creator, you did really good, but one thing that we wish you changed is the sky. It's too low. And the Creator looked up and said, it looks good to me. And no matter how hard they tried to explain that it was fine for Him, it wasn't fine for them, He didn't quite get that. So they went home and they said, this isn't going to work this way. We're going to have to do it ourselves. And so a word went out. Everybody in the area got together into a big meeting. But because of all those languages, it was really hard to work things through. So they talked and they exchanged ideas, and some people would translate for other people who translate for other people. And after a long time, they decided, well, we're going to push the sky up all together. And then somebody said, well, how are we going to do that? So they talked and they worked and they translated and they spent a long time, and they finally decided this is the way we'll do it. We'll push it up with poles. And somebody said, how will we know when to do that? So they talked and they talked and they translated and they worked hard together, and they finally decided we're going to say the one word we all know, Yahoo, which means all together. So everybody knew that word, and they planned out when to do it. 4 days later, all of the people got together, and they all brought their long poles, and they all got underneath and they stuck it up on the bottom of the sky, and then somebody cried out, Yahoo! And they pushed, and the sky went up about this much. Somebody said, we'll have to do it again. So everybody got in position, got their poles ready, and someone said, Yahoo! And they pushed, and it went up about this far. Somebody said, we're going to have to give it a really big try. So everybody got in position with their poles, and someone said, Yahoo! And they pushed, and the sky popped up to where it's at right now. That's a good thing. But at that very moment, there were some hunters that had been out. They didn't know about the meetings. There were 3 of them, and they had a little dog with them, and they were chasing some elk. And as the 4 elk jumped up in the sky, the hunters jumped up after them with the dog, and just at that moment, the sky popped up into its place. And they could never come home. But they're up there now. It's all right. You look up at night, and you see the 4 elk. They're the bowl of the Big Dipper. And you see the 3 bright stars that make up the handle of the Big Dipper. Those are the hunters. And there's a little tiny star next to one of those bright stars. That's the little dog. And this is how we know how to work together. And that is my story.